Alright, come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on the playlist, find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest, in and out points, no celebs and the gossip, back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the queue, quick checks, who'll be laughing, you abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all the latest in television, entertainment news, with too many else that can't see a thing right now. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen. The other one is
John Dark. The third one is
Kyle Bridger. I'm just I'm blinded by Dave's sunglasses. They're so good.
Blinded by Science.
Yes.
The Total Eclipse of Your Heart. All those songs right now. Dark Side of the Moon. We could just run through them.
Of course. But for our blank, I gotta say that I am disgruntled to John's Bruce Springsteen, to Dave's Mocha Joe. He is Mocha Joe.
I am Mocha Joe. I'm so mad.
And John got COVID.
Spoiler. I guess we're all mad. We're all disgruntled with Larry David, but are we okay with how the series finale concluded? Yes, we're gonna break down the finale that was 12 seasons, 24 years in the making. We're gonna break it all down, and then we're going from one entertainment legend in Larry David to another tonight with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Yes, we're going to settle up our Oscar bet.
It's not
punishment.
your child's Winnie the Pooh.
It is not. Got a lot to say. Two weird things to talk about tonight, and then maybe some quick checks at the end. It's a wild show. It was a wild day out there with the solar eclipse. It's going to be a weird one, folks. Speaking of weird, no in and out points tonight. We're going right to it. Let's go back. Send us back.
Back in time.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
I have to say, we really did forget about in and out points this week.
I forgot. There's nothing to do. We forgot them. I remembered the name. Here we are. Traveled all the way back to last night, April 7th, when the Curb Your Enthusiasm series finale aired. No lessons learned. After 24 years, 12 seasons, and 120 episodes, Larry David says goodbye to Larry David, the curmudgeon, in the finale that mirrors the Seinfeld finale, which he returned to write back in 1998. It's all mixed together in this weird pseudo-real thing that Larry has created. Let's just start off, I guess, Kyle, your thoughts as a whole, Curb Your Enthusiasm, the final season, the series finale, broad strokes, what did you think?
I didn't like the early part of this season, but I had been texting, I think, the group and you, Dave, that I have been liking each episode a little bit more and more as we've gone along. And I think the season definitely got better toward the back half, to the middle of the back half. Definitely some very, very funny moments in the second half of the season. So I did enjoy it. The finale I thought was fine. I'm thinking back now. I don't even know if I've actually seen this Seinfeld finale. I'm like,
what are you talking about? I remember you binged all of Seinfeld.
I know. I was
did a quick
wondering.
check
I don't
on
know. I don't remember it.
Are you pulling a Leon, like, who binged the entire series and I guess missed the finale?
I really do think that's happened because I don't remember the courtroom stuff that well from Seinfeld.
Oh, wow.
So maybe it's just like I've seen a bunch of the Seinfeld episodes, but I missed the finale. So I'm sure there were like little Easter eggs in there that I was missing. And but overall, I like the season finale, the series finale. I thought it was okay. I thought it was just okay for a series finale, but as a whole, the second half of the season much better.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for, I think, Larry to top himself with 12 seasons, which pretty much every single one of them ends with a series finale. Like this is it. This is like, I'm done. There's a season where he dies and goes to heaven. I mean, like, there's the fatwa, there's the producers, there's so many like these big climactic like endings of stuff, and then it's like, oh, we'll do another one. Forget everything. We're doing another one. And this one supposedly is the last one. It ties it all together because yes, we called it, or we talked about it. At least I did at the beginning. But then again, the
you
whole
did.
world,
The
whole world, I feel like was also in on it too. This mirrored the Seinfeld finale. This season, between the storylines, the guest stars, it was everything, with Jerry and just the trial. And it's interesting because I thought you would have been well versed in this finale, especially, watching it so recently, but you may have missed this here. But I just love it because it's a little bit of the Spite Store season, because it's like, oh, you guys hated the Seinfeld finale? You thought I didn't do good with it? Well, guess what? I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Just like, screw you. I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
And he literally does it again. And other than even just the trial, it's just like little things. Maybe these are just coincidences, but like it starts off with like a plane ride. I mean, that's what the Seinfeld for. They were in the private jet going to, I think it was like Paris or someplace they were going to go to celebrate because Jerry the show just got picked up, and they had to, do this pit stop in Latham, Massachusetts. But like we start with a plane ride. Ted Danson's mentioned throughout that finale, and of course he appears in this finale. One of the biggest things was, almost like there was a little fake out at the end with the last line of dialogue. So in Seinfeld, the very first thing in the pilot is Jerry talking to George about the button on his suit, like on his shirt, where it's like, see that button? It's just way too high. It's a no man's land. And he's saying all this stuff. And when they're in the jail cell at the end, they're doing that, and George is like,
yeah.
Haven't we talked about this before? And it's like, oh, we ran out of material. We are done. We closed the loop. And we got this here. Like the first episode of Curb is the pants tent. And he's playing with the pants tent. And he's doing this here in the cell. And the camera starts zooming back, just like the Seinfeld finale, and you're like, oh my God, is he doing exactly the same thing? But then, no, we get the Jerry interrupts, and, changes it up a little bit and does a little like redo of maybe what they should have done in the Seinfeld finale. But I think the main thing, like, it's interesting because there's some people that are like with Seinfeld, it's like, oh, it ended and people were mad because, oh, these 4 people that we really liked, you sent them to jail and they shouldn't go to jail, kind of thing. Like it's like an FU to the audience. Like, yeah, you've been rooting for these bad people this whole time.
But they were bad people.
Yeah, they were.
But that doesn't make them less funny. Yeah. It's just they were not great people.
But then the other side of things were like, well, no, it's because it was just a clip show. Like you had just all these clips. And it's a different time in the 90s when, this is before YouTube, where if you wanted to see the Soup Nazi, well, if you didn't watch it live and whatever it was, and you're not going to accidentally see it on syndication, at whatever time, you're not seeing the Soup Nazi. So it's like, oh, by doing this clip, it's like, oh, there he is. I think the issue was when they actually aired it, they did like a highlights of 100, clip show best moments thing, and then they did the finale. So then it's like, we just saw these. Like, yeah. So I think that's the reason. But anyways, we got a little bit of clips. I feel like these clips were at least like very short, and it is something a little different. 8 years versus 24 years. There's a little bit more of a time. But yeah, they got
but it's also like Larry looking back at like I've done so many like not terrible things, but like just
like I got away with this stuff?
Thing. Yeah, like I can't believe I've done all this. He can't remember it, so it's like he has to go back through like, oh yeah, I did do,
and it's like reminisce. Even like in the Seinfeld finale where they're like, oh, Yev Kassem is here, and they're like, Yev Kassem. It's like, oh, that's the Soup Nazi. They all have these names for people. Yeah. And so then at one point, I can't remember his actual name. They're like, oh, who's that? And they're like, it's Mocha Joe. Like they have like all these little like nicknames and stuff for people. And what's wild for me is like, I'm sure this was a deliberate choice, but for most of the season, and even really this episode, like they don't really actually ever even call out this similarity. you would think at some point somebody would point out like the irony, like at just even a point like Jerry, when he first sees him, like,
Yeah.
isn't this crazy? Like you're getting a trial over this like
Yeah.
dumb law. That was the Seinfeld finale. Like, what is this like weird? They don't like mention it, but like once the judge actually sentenced him, it like becomes like so on the nose where it's like, you have a history of doing the same thing wrong over and over. I'm gonna sentence you to 1 year in prison. And it's like, okay. And then Jerry Seinfeld sees him there. It's like, believe me, you don't want to end up like this. Like, trust me. And then, this is how we should have ended it. Like, so it's
Yeah.
gets a little bit too much on the nose there. But other than that, did you like, was it clear for you that this was how it was going to end? Any like, because I saw there were some like fake outs that in the penultimate episode, even in this episode, which we can discuss in a second, but was there any questions that maybe they would do this, but then also do something else or add something else in?
No, I mean, you kind of called it with this, and I mean, like you said, it was kind of going in this direction. But the one thing that surprised me is, and luckily she turned back into her usual self, is like the fact that he would get Susie Essman's character to even like go along with any of his plans just seemed like a little bit too far-fetched for me. And luckily it turned around, but it was all for that joke of being like, you guys are really, really this bad,
Yeah.
But I was like, she would have never gone for this in the first place,
I definitely had that thought. And even my wife, who has seen most of Curb, but it's been a while, and she was like, Susie wouldn't do this. Like, it's just like, it just seems like it was like, oh, this is just like a fun thing that we could put her in an outfit and like a wig and like have this like moment. But like, unless for some reason Jeff was like, because she got the salad dressing that she really wanted, is like, I owe you anything, Jeff. Whatever you want, Jeff, I got you. And then it's just like, oh, you can do me a favor. Can you help Larry out with a trial? Maybe there was that and they just cut that scene out, or we missed it or something.
Yeah,
that's
true.
the only thing I could think of, because there was no reason for her to dress up and do that for him in that moment. But I guess for like the fake outs, I was gonna like talk about, because like in the penultimate episode, we're talking, Bruce Springsteen and COVID. Larry gets COVID. There was even like a Me Too moment with the masseuse. But it's like, y'all already had those like as seasons. Like we had the sexual harassment season. We had the Larry dies and goes to heaven season. Like we already had these, which is wild. He's covered a lot of stuff. But there was a moment when Allison Janney's character, who's was dating Richard, there's a whole thing about a possible in the past suicide attempt that she was going to do over being broken up with Richard. But at the end of the episode, they're called it quits again. She got a gun, and Lewis is like, it's not for me, it's for you, LD. Like, she's coming for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, are we gonna get some kind of like, maybe he gets out of prison and then immediately it's the Sopranos cut to black ending, like like doing that series finale, because Curb and Seinfeld started about the same time, which is wild. Yeah, the
You
cut
mean
to
Curb
black,
and Sopranos?
Curb and Sopranos. What did I say, Seinfeld?
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. We've been like, instead of Don't Stop Believing, dun, 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 like ended too soon or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that would have been wild if they went that route. That would have been interesting.
There were like all the different like, finales that they like could have done. Like, oh, it's all a dream. Oh, it's all snow globe. Oh, it's like it's all that kind of stuff.
But that would have been a wild thing to do, especially with like a new character that they just brought in. That
not like a Maria Sophia or that Irma character, or like those people. But I say, as much as I love the ending in the Seinfeld callback, it does feel like we've done a bit of this before. Not even, I mean, outside of Seinfeld, but like there was the Fatwa season where there was that man, interviewing people in Larry's past on, like his, like on his character. And that's even like Michael J. Fox came back in that episode, to be a kind of like a character witness, like does Larry deserve this fatwa on him? So it's like, we kind of already did this, like going back and all the people that Larry has wronged to judge him for his sins kind of thing. And so it just feels like, oh, we repeated that. We actually repeated a lot of stuff I feel like from this new like HD post New York City season that they've done where sure you got the Seinfeld bits, the gifting of a pen, the wild baby names that he was coming up with for Sean Hayes and
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Levy's characters, Seven and Soda and all that stuff from
Mm-hmm.
Seinfeld, but even was referencing Curb, the anonymous donation plaque thing from Ted, the Groat's disease. There's all these like things where it's like there's times where it's like it's a callback, and then there's other times where it's like you're just doing this bit again. Like, did you forget you did this
Yeah,
in 97 or
there,
2004? Like,
yeah, there was one bit where I was like, I swear he did this in like the season 3 or 4.
yeah,
And a lot of times it was a similar one with the housekeeping, and it's like I feel like we've done this
yeah,
hotel housekeeping bit about 3 or 4 times, and you've progressively gotten worse each time with it, Larry. It's like, do you just want to keep going back to it because of like some kind of weird life that you're living now and you have to deal with it more? So you're like, why do I have to do this again and again? It's one of those things. But I think
yeah,
that's why we said in the premiere
yeah,
that maybe its time should have
yeah,
ended. Luckily, I think the second half picked up enough
yeah,
where there was some definitely moments. Like I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about Curb, and it was like, yeah, it still has its moments, and that's
yeah.
really I
Moments,
would,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, it's not like a full thing. You know what I mean? It's not great top to bottom. It's moments that
Yeah,
Curb this year was good.
yeah, because I'm pretty sure, like for me, I really see the show as like two eras where it's
Hmm.
I'm trying to get the exact dates here. It really is the like again the end of the New York City arc, the Michael J. Fox episode, which aired in 2011.
Hmm.
Then that was the show's biggest like break, and it came back in 2017. And that was like the Fatwa season. And
Hmm.
it's like going for like the HD and just like it's just the time off. It seemed it lost a little bit of rhythm, I feel like, in that. And sure, there's been great episodes since then. But yeah, it's more like moments. It's just you definitely see like the age of the show. And I mean, again, it's like I'm complaining about this guy who's done 120 episodes of this. I don't even know how many episodes he was there for with Seinfeld, but Seinfeld had like 180 episodes. But if he
Hmm.
just he's done, close to 300 episodes of stuff. And it's like, yeah, of course things are gonna repeat. And also
Yeah.
he created these, so he's allowed
Yeah.
to move them
Well,
around. It's just like I just want like those first, I feel like 8 seasons were like, wow.
hmm.
Wow, like where do you come up with that? And how did these all connect? And then there's other times where it's like you're watching episodes like, oh, this is gonna connect to this and this, yep, okay, yep, oh,
Yeah.
and that happens. Okay, we got it. Like,
Hmm.
but
Well, if you really think about it, I mean, this show he created on the back of Seinfeld. I mean,
yeah,
you could really say he's made a buttload of money with the same character
yeah,
in
George Costanza. Yeah,
two different universes. You know what I mean? So he like took a character and made it two successful series from that character. It's wild. It's
yeah.
crazy.
And then as kind of Leon points out, he's not wasn't a big Kramer fan. It's like kind of made a Kramer for HBO in Leon. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like he went from 1998. Well, he wasn't there for the last 2 seasons of Seinfeld, but he came back for the finale. I believe that's 98. And then the special, the Curb Your Enthusiasm special, was 99. And then the series started in 2000. So it's like he's been since 89 or whatever it is, 2024. It's been a long time with George
Hmm.
Costanza slash Larry David.
Yeah.
But it was there's points like in this season I feel like also it's like it was feeling like a little stale or behind just like with
Hmm.
the timing of when they're filming and when they're coming out because it's like to have storylines of like about long COVID and
Yep.
quarantines in
Yep.
2024. Also
Yep.
like you got them like being obsessed with like Wordle. It's just like
Yeah.
we're a little too late on this. Like maybe
Yeah.
maybe that generation's still playing Wordle, but like we're on to connections now, buddy. Like that's the
Yeah.
next New
Yeah.
York Times game we're playing. But
Yeah. I agree. I agree there. It was just
yeah,
too late.
yeah. Um, yeah, I want to go through. I know, and again, I feel like I'm nitpicking a little bit here. I still like the show, but I feel like one of the things like in later seasons that really kind of irked me is like, and again, like the second half of the show is like the guest star confusion of it all, where it used to be if you were like famous, recognizable, you played yourself. Like in this world, Larry David is Larry David, you know, everyone from like Shaq, Wanda Sykes, like Rob Reiner, Paul Reiser. It's like if you have any bit of fame in front of or behind the camera, you are yourself. And then you would have like the character actors play other people, like Bob Odenkirk before he was really famous. Richard Kind. You have those like the character actors playing the supporting characters around it all. Now it's just you never know. It's like a wild guess each week. There was an episode where like Conan is himself in the episode. Okay, that makes sense. Very distinct. It's Conan. But then it's like Steve Buscemi and Sean Hayes are in the same episode and they're not themselves.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's like a weird thing to wrap your head around. And then you go like the past seasons where it's like, okay, Julie Bowen, Kelly Cuoco, Josh Gad, they're not themselves. But then you have people like Dylan O'Brien, Lily Collins are.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, like I'm not saying Julie Bowen and Kelly Cuoco are A-list, but they're very recognizable and 9, 10, 11 seasons of a hit sitcom. It's like they're known. And it's like there was
didn't he have an explanation on this? And it didn't sound
said
like a very
something,
good
but
one.
man,
Yeah.
it didn't make sense where it was just like, oh, when they lost, Super Dave, Bob Einstein there, like they needed somebody kind of, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but like to deliver some like really important stuff, and you need a really like skilled comedic actor in that role. So that's where they bring in the Vince Vaughn character, which I got a lot to say about in a minute. But it's like, do you like? I'm sure like at the end of the day, like you found Leon, you found JB Smoove, like you found somebody that is a very gifted comedic improviser. Like I'm sure you could find somebody else as well. Like it's really like I don't know. It's just like back in the day, like I mean, I know it's a little different, but like Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen really married, played a married couple on the show. Okay, makes sense. And then like this second half, you have Lin-Manuel Miranda on the show, and his wife is there. It is important, but it's not his wife. America Ferrera is playing his wife. It's like, what? Like that's just confusing to the audience because that's America Ferrera. We know her.
Yeah.
She's an Oscar nominee now, but like it just adds something when you have like even the season, like Troy Kotzer, Michael J. Fox telling Larry David off. Like it's just it makes it just seem like more real. And yeah, is this just me or is this my soapbox I'm on?
Maybe a little bit. Like I'm able to kind of go with the flow because it's like comedy. I'm willing to like suspend my disbelief a little bit more and just let him go with the flow. But I'm pretty sure he was on something and said that basically, like, for instance, Steve Buscemi has a colostomy bag. They're like, we don't really believe Steve Buscemi would have a colostomy bag, so we've got to make him a different character. Whereas like Conan,
but it's just like wild because like why like I love Steve Buscemi, but like
why do you need Steve
why do you need
Buscemi
Steve
for that
Buscemi
role?
in that role?
Yeah,
So it's like
I
and
agree.
like and like what we have here with like Vince Vaughn as one of the Funkhausers, it's like this never made sense. And again, I'll extend my disbelief. It's a TV show, I get it, but like you also have Ben Stiller in this world. He worked with Larry on the Producers musical. They did a whole arc. Ben Stiller exists. So who was in Dodgeball? Like just a Funkhauser lookalike, I guess. Like it's just when you get to a certain level, I get it, especially, the rise in fame, Bob Odenkirk in the beginning, Porno Gil, and then he's, Better Call Saul. Like you couldn't have predicted that over 24 years.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like when you're already a very successful B-list, A-list person, to just not be yourself and just we're pretending you're, I don't know, it never even just made sense of him in that family, I feel like.
Well,
Bob Einstein.
So I think we talked about Vince Vaughn in that character before and how it was like, it was just, so I really don't think this is going to sound terrible, but I don't think he added much to the series as a whole. I mean, there were maybe a few moments that were funny, but I don't think Vince Vaughn. They could have gotten somebody else for that role if that's what you're saying. Like I don't.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
don't.
saying. This could, I
Yeah.
think, been played by anyone, or
Yeah.
even like you find somebody like JB Smooth. I think he's one
Mhm.
in a million, but like something to really elevate
Yeah.
material. And at the end of the day, I will say I was kind of glad we didn't get Vince in the finale. We also didn't get Maria Sophia.
Yeah.
We got Irma for like a second in some weird green
Yeah.
screen
I was just like,
cameo.
why even bring her in then?
Yeah, it just
That was my thought.
yeah, it's like really we couldn't do a little bit better. You're an HBO production. You couldn't. It's literally a box. Like just put her in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
juror box or whatever it is. But with all that being said, I like how the finale had like the core group. You
Hmm.
got, whether, with Leon, with Jeff, with Susie, with Ted, Richard, Jerry came back, Cheryl. It's like you had the people that made this thing essential. Obviously, we're
Hmm.
missing the original Funkhauser with Bob Einstein, but like you got the core group there and all playing off
Yeah.
each other to close it out.
I think the little Ted Danson stuff that they
Yeah.
add in is just such a
Yeah.
good throwaway. It's like
Because it's so good. Because
it's
like
so worth it.
Larry,
Yeah.
even this with his lines in Seinfeld where he made George like compare himself to Ted Danson, it just
Yeah.
adds so much because it is Ted Danson. But if Ted Danson was playing, you know, Joe Smith, it's like it doesn't pack the same
Yeah.
thing. But it's like, oh, it's Ted Danson.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, in the finale, we had some other guest stars we can mention real quick. Allison Janney, Greg Kinnear, Dean Norris
Yeah.
appeared. Any thoughts on these guys joining the group?
I thought Greg Kinnear was fine.
Yeah.
I thought Larry's I think it's Sanai Lathan, I think that's her name.
Mm. Yeah.
But Dean Norris, what was going on with that
Yeah.
accent? It just
That's
felt
my
all
note.
over the
That's my
place,
note.
man.
It kept like ebbing and
Yeah,
flowing.
it
Sometimes it
was
was
all over the
stronger, sometimes
place.
it was really bad. It was not good.
Yeah.
But
That was my only thing
yeah.
there was like this seems like out of just I don't know. It was all over the place. But I think he did a good job as like that judge that obviously doesn't like Larry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I will say, like, watching this, there was a point where I was like looking at like the jury box because I was like, oh, maybe they like snuck in some like cameos or like some people from like Seinfeld days. Because like in the Seinfeld finale, one of the jurors is one of the writers, like Spike Ferenstein. So I was like, oh,
Mm.
maybe they did something here. I couldn't recognize anyone. There was a point when even like the person right above Greg Kinnear's shoulder almost looked, but the age doesn't make sense because that was like 20 years ago. Almost was, I thought, like the prosecutor from the Seinfeld finale.
Uh,
So that would have been cool to add in like some of those like
yeah.
Seinfeld people.
Yeah, I was wondering where you wanted to go Easter egg wise, like Banya's in the
Yeah,
jury
no,
box.
but no, I mean,
Yeah.
he wouldn't be playing himself in this world, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But I think one of the hardest laughs I had in the episode, well, I guess I had two, was Lewis talking about how he wanted to maybe adopt, and then it was like, you're gonna adopt a 40-year-old? It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
maybe a doctor or a lawyer or something. Like,
Yeah.
I just thought that was Lewis still killing it. And then with Jerry, when he's talking with Leon, Leon never has seen Seinfeld and thinking that the show is all about just some weekly action and asking Jerry about, there's got to be tapes, right? With you
Yeah.
guys, yeah, where are those tapes? He's like, and just like that, like back and forth, and then
Yeah.
finally just like Jerry's like, I'm not gonna be able to convince this guy, so let me just
Yeah.
go with it. And he's just like, yeah, they're all on laser discs. Like, it's just like but
Yeah.
any other moments stand out to you either in the finale or just like the season?
Oh man. I was looking back at some of the titles of the series. The Ken Kendra one was pretty funny. It just took me out just because but that was
Yeah,
funny.
I saw that title. I was like, oh boy, I
Yeah.
know where this is possibly
Yeah.
going.
But the dream scheme, because I've thought of something like that myself, like just like trying to get out of something because of a dream. And then having him have the Gettysburg Address
Yeah.
makes him want to urinate. It's
Yeah, the
like he's like
Pavlov situation.
he's trained himself.
Yeah,
But
those are
I
good. Yeah.
definitely the back half
Yeah.
very, very Solid episodes.
I like the stuff with like the text chain, him being added to somebody like
Oh,
3 in the
yeah, that
morning,
was
where it's
great.
like, I don't know
Yeah.
this person, and yet
Yeah.
being obligated to, like or add something to the chain.
Yeah.
That, and there was like the misunderstanding with Vince Vaughn's girlfriend there working for Disney. Not
Oh, yeah.
not as a executive, as a character at the Disney store. But that was a fun little group in there. But all right, I mean, is there anything else left to say about Curb? I mean, John, are you gonna get back in on Curb?
I'm okay. I've heard enough. I mean, you guys saying that he's reusing his own jokes is enough for me to be like, yeah, I don't need more of the same.
I mean, some of the jokes are good. I mean, they're very good jokes to reuse. So
I you know what? There's so much stuff to watch. This is
Yeah.
not high on the list. I'll put it that way.
yeah. I know what's really high on the list for John. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I know you're excited for the sequel. I know you
I bought my
are.
tickets already.
You bought them. It's in theaters. You can watch it. But no, we're talking about the original, the classic Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So let's set this up. First time in 7 years we lost this Oscar bet by 1 or 2 points. I don't remember the exact total, but it was because of Godzilla, King of the Monsters, whatever, Godzilla -1, forcing us to now watch this Razzie award-winning film. This one swept the Razzies this year, going 5 for 5, with wins for worst prequel, remake, or sequel, worst screen couple, worst screenplay, worst director, and worst picture. So 5 for 5.
Mm.
Oh boy! But despite all
Yeah.
that, it was a commercial success. Earned $5.2 million off a $50,000 budget.
Oh
Sequels and
my
spin-offs coming,
God.
which we'll get to in a little bit. But give me your thoughts on this film. John, I want you to start me off. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
I'm just an innocent bystander. I didn't even get a choice in like what picks we had. I'm paying the price for you guys not looking ahead.
You
But-
guys, do we still have the text message? Just kidding.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm just
But,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you would expect. It was just, nothing in it was overtly scary. I was confused because in the cinematic, the intro cinematic, it seemed like, spoilers. They killed Christopher Robin, but then did they kill him? Was he back? Was it somebody else? I didn't know if I could determine if that other guy was.
I
the
think it
same
was supposed to
person.
be Christopher Robin, but the way they make it seem, it's like they killed him. But
Yeah,
no,
this
he's fine.
The cinematic
Yeah.
is like, oh, he's dead,
Fine.
dude. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, now he's here. Like, how many years later? So I don't know. The whole thing, like, even in the beginning, like the acting, it was just like, oh, they wouldn't hurt us. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, they must have gone feral. Like he felt like he had that information that like they all went bad and like just flipped immediately. It was like not like, oh, what's going on? It's just like,
Yeah.
oh no, they're bad. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why we didn't check this out. Besides
definitely a
under
reason.
duress, but
Just going off that point, John, but him just being like, is it because I left?
Yeah.
It's not because it's like, you're
He
just
knew.
assuming that from what? I mean, you just see this dude in a Winnie the
He's
Pooh
smart.
mask.
He connected the dots. He
Yeah,
he could
I
figure it
know.
all out. He went to
Oh.
college. Oh,
Oh,
my
man.
yeah.
This-
I will say before I let you go, I feel like the concept is there. The concept. The illustration, like the opening, I'm like, okay, it's crude, but it fits the theme.
that was
Like,
the best part.
yeah, it's like, okay, I see what we're doing here. We're setting up. You have Christopher Robin, you have the pieces, but then you're like missing just like core points to this. Like, first of all, where's Tigger?
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
gotta wait
isn't
for the
there
sequel.
more than Pooh and Piglet? I was
They
like,
men-
where's
they
the other
mentioned
guy?
they mentioned in the opening, you got Pooh, you got Piglet, you got Eeyore. It's like, but you can at least mention Tigger. Like, he's one of the core 4 there or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's
Like, he's
interesting.
It's because they could only afford those two masks
The
at,
two, yeah.
Party City when they were
Yeah.
making this movie.
So
Yeah.
they ate Eeyore. They
Yeah.
mentioned Owl, but did not show Owl at
Yeah.
all. So yeah, they must be saving him for the good stuff for the next episode, I guess.
And there, what? There's a rabbit too, right? Is it just Rabbit? Is his name? I can't remember. The yellow
yeah,
rabbit,
the
I
one
think.
the one on the left here on the image.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that wasn't shown either. Yeah, so they skimped a little. I didn't even think about that while I was watching it.
I'm telling you, it's just whatever mask they could find. I swear to God.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, and even just like the basic thing where it's like, like in the illustration, like narration open, it's like, Christopher Robin leaves and they're forced to fend for themselves. It's like, okay, like they're animals. Like, like there's no free handouts. Like, come on. He took care of you for this long, you got to do something yourself here. Like, you
They
can't
just turn
rely
into
on him
they just turn
your
into
entire life.
bloodthirsty.
What were they doing before he came?
Yeah.
Like they have no instincts at all anymore.
Yeah, like like that's their motivation, but it's like it was just like so like basic, and it's just like
Of course.
and that's what the thing where it's like that's what annoys me. It's like you have the pieces, and then you're just like, eh. It's like, no, you could actually do something like creative and fun with this, but you just did something, and who knows, maybe it's just solely based on the title, and like we talked about it, I'm sure, as an in and out point when it initially came out. It's like that interest made it like, ooh, like what is this? And then it's like, oh, this is still just bad. It's bad. Kyle, I kind of cut you off before you can give your full review. You got more stuff to break down, but any other like just overall thoughts of just this whole experience?
I agree with you about it being like an interesting idea, but the execution, the I mean, whatever, it's a $50,000 budget and they made a ton of money, but I wouldn't say this is good. I mean, it's far from good. The writing is bad, the acting is bad. The costumes are not great. It's just overly generic. We hit these cliche plot points. It's like we get this traumatized girl who's then has to stop at the gas station, and it's just like
talk
all
about that's one of my
these points.
questions with that. So I believe her name is Maria, and she's like being stalked or something, and there's a man who even makes it into her bedroom at one point, before the events of this movie, starts undressing her in the night. Does this ever come back? Like, does this guy or like storyline or anything connect at all?
Because here's the thing. They introduce the lesbian couple, and it was like that was their characterization. They're the lesbian couple. That's why you should care. They're the lesbian couple. And then like it's all one note characters. There's no fleshing them out in any way. And in fact, let's go back to this point. She goes to the gas station. You think she's alone, right? That's how
I thought so.
They go into the store, and then you hear a honk, 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 and apparently she's got 4 other people with her. I'm like, what? Did I miss something?
Yeah, and I'm also just confused. Like, again, to go back to like you had the points. So like this starts off, we get the 5-year time jump where Christopher Robin comes back or with his girlfriend there to see his old friends. They immediately kill the girlfriend. 11 minutes in, I'm like, oh my God, like I thought these two were gonna be our people for the movie.
Hang on before you go on. My thought was, oh man, 11 minutes. This is what I could do this.
Perfect. The short film version, TikTok. But okay, sure, Christopher Robin is tortured and later ends up escaping, blah blah blah. But shouldn't it be him and his friends that we are following in the targets of this film? Instead, we spent all of our time with Maria and her friends. It's like, who are these people? Like, why should we care? Like, do this with Christopher Robin, his girlfriend, maybe like another couple that they know, and like a 5th, comic relief. That's your 5 people. But instead, you kill off these people, you sideline them, and then you bring in these like boring, like, one-dimensional, maybe zero-dimensional characters.
Well,
Like,
I mean, the only other thing that I could think of is honestly, I was like, is the director okay with like women? Because I'm like, sure enough, the first woman that's killed,
yeah,
I think, is like her shirt just
yeah,
happens to be ripped
yeah,
off, and then it's just like, does the director have problems with women? Like it's
yeah,
just so messed up. Like I
yeah.
don't know, just
Like
very, very
I
strange
really
and weird.
thought that we're gonna have like Christopher Robin, like maybe like not like as a spy, but like as like being forced to bring people back to the woods for them. It's like, oh, you want to live, Christopher Robin? You're gonna have to feed us. You're gonna have to go get these people and like maybe like sweet talk them into staying or like doing these things and then bring them back to our like lair or something. But even like the basic idea that like these Pooh and Piglet and all these people are so hungry that they need food and that's why they're killing all these people. That I feel like is like thrown out
Mm-hmm.
because we have these like big like B movie horror deaths, but like every time I'm watching, it's like you guys are wasting a lot of meat here. Like, the woman that you mentioned that goes topless, Kyle, goes into like a wood chipper, and it's like, okay, maybe like if you're looking for like a stew, maybe you could use that, but it's just like it flies everywhere. And
Yeah.
then you're decapitating people, you're running the body over with a car into pavement, and it's like you're kind of like wasting a lot. Like I know there's not that much in maybe the head, but you can eat the brain, you could like don't leave anything to waste if you're that hungry. And
Well,
like
weren't they doing it to like harvest honey, or that's what Winnie the Pooh was doing? He was like making some kind of weird honey concoction out of the blood, right?
well, I guess maybe that's what he was doing out of the blood because like at one point, yeah, they shower Christopher Robin in blood, and I'm like, really? Like you're not gonna drink that? Like,
Yeah.
you don't let anything go to waste if you're that
I
hungry.
weirdly, you know what? That showering with blood thing, though,
Mhm.
I've never seen that done before. So
No, so
I
yeah,
actually thought that was a cool moment. I'm like, wait, they actually thought of this. That's a good
yeah,
idea.
it's an interesting thing. But I just like wish like almost like we incorporated like the animal aspect of it all. Like maybe it's like give me bear traps. Give me like some archery hunting thing. Like it's like, oh, now it's on the other foot. Like you were hunting animals, but no, we are gonna hunt you now. It's like, no, it's like instead they got into someone's car. It's just like that doesn't
To
make
build off
sense.
that, in the intro when he's going in there, they have like a civilized hut with like a
Mm,
car out front and
yeah.
like a fire and like all these things. It's like
That's more than
are
I
these
have.
are these animals or these people? Like what are we doing?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
definitely, and they were using like Wazaga said in chat. Why does he need a hammer? He's a bear. He doesn't have claws. He can't like jump on
Mhm.
somebody and just maul him. Like
Yeah, I just like I know the budget is like $10 for this thing, but like Pooh is just like too human and the mask is like too stiff.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like dressed as like a lumberjack. It's like at least do the classic red shirt, no pants, like have him running around on all fours, clawing people. Like it's just he never speaks.
I
Like
know.
like maybe it's just because if he did, it would be like too kiddish, but like we need motivation. Like if you look at like Scream with Ghostface, he doesn't talk, but there's like a personality there. Like you can
Yeah.
feel the character. This you don't, it's just like this is just literally some
It's a
stand-in
dude
that they
in a
put a
dude in a
mask on.
mask. Yeah.
It's not, I don't know. It's just you mentioned the thing with the blood. I think one thing that was actually interesting to me, there was like one moment that I thought was actually pretty cool where again, I don't know why this woman like in the hot tub after seeing something weird behind her continues to
I
face
know.
yep.
behind.
Dude,
Other than
yeah,
that,
because it's not
okay, go.
sorry, because it's not just like you're in the city and there's a
Yeah.
bunch of people around, It's like you've got a creepy dude on the end of a cul-de-sac
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere. What do you think?
Yeah. Just
I'm
literally
not
just
gonna let you ruin my time.
turn 180
Sit
degrees so you can
back.
at least see what's
Oh
going
my
on and have your back to the
God.
building. But anyways, when she's doing this, the light is flickering and it was kind of almost like a strobe effect where you see like one and then you see like him a little closer and then you see like Piglet appear and it's like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Like,
Yeah.
the buildup of that, the suspense there.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. I mean, everything else was just
The
classic,
rest of that
like
scene was
slanted
ridiculous.
shots,
Yeah.
it's just like too just over the top and
Ugh. I have so many notes, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is the most like engaged like with notes I've had for a very long time. I don't know what that says, but like another unanswered question. So Pooh and Piglet at one point put "Get Out" on the windows of like their Airbnb, but it's like,
Yeah.
but don't you want them to like
It's the
stay?
thrill of the chase, man.
But it's like also it's like, yeah, get out, go home. We don't want you
Yeah.
here. It's like,
Yeah.
but you do. You want to kill them and eat them. So like you want them here.
Yeah.
It's just,
So this, mind you, this is after they've seen their friend mauled, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And so they know someone is out there, and or I think they've seen a shadow of them, right? And
Yeah.
then we get the line after seeing Get Out, they say, whoever it is probably wrote that. And I'm like, you think?
It could be.
Think?
What made you think that?
You wonder. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, wild. Also, we have to go back to they all put their phones in the center, right? This is a no phones retreat. And everyone, mind you, she goes, when they find out, when they see all this messaging massacring happen, she's like, I brought a gun. She brings a gun to a no phones retreat. Are
You never know. You gotta be prepared. You gotta be ready.
Also, wasn't the girl in the hot tub taking photos of herself too with her phone? So like,
yeah,
it only applied to some of them. Like,
yeah, like they were supposed to all put it away or whatever.
Inside the house, no phones.
Stupid.
Outside the house, you can have
I
phones.
see.
But it was supposed to be like a getaway, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, let me bring my Magnum," because it wasn't like a little pea shooter; it was a giant gun.
And it's wild too, like for somebody who's like so scared to be like, I don't know, like she has this weird stalker. Sure, she's like going out to the middle of nowhere kind of thing, but isn't that going to be more scary to be in the middle of nowhere? Like, don't you
I know,
want
yeah,
to be
I
like,
thought the same exact thing. I thought the same exact thing. Also, the music there was twice the music was playing underneath. Did you watch this with captions?
I don't think I
The
did.
song playing underneath that was like
Yeah.
like the lyrics were someplace that smell, someplace that smell, and then the next lyric is like after the humming is something something something. I'm like, is this an Easter egg? Is this what do these lyrics mean? Like they didn't add anything in there? I don't know. I was like, what is happening?
No, man. There's there's so many questions. Like at one point at the end, does Pooh like control nature and get the bees to swarm someone? Like the way he moved something at one point, like it seemed like there was like all these like bees out of nowhere
Yeah.
like come and like attack somebody. And it's just like he has like magical powers all of a sudden. Like if that's the case, why not like control deer to come and have so he can eat the deer? I don't know. Like it's just I guess it only works on bees because of the honey he's growing from Christopher Robin's blood shower thing. There's so many questions. There's so many questions. And thank God we're going to get answers in all these sequels because, yes, we're getting sequels. We're getting a lot going on here. So, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 is in theaters now. And it actually has a higher Rotten Tomato scores than the first one. So, the first one has 3% critics score, 50% audience score. 50 is way too high. 3% is more accurate. The new one, number 2 here, has a 52% critic score, 80% audience score. At this rate, the third one is going to be, the next Oscar Best Picture at this rate.
I mean, maybe.
But, not only is part 3 coming, that was announced this week, we are going to get the Poohniverse, if I'm saying that correctly here.
Oh my God.
Poohniverse Monsters Assemble will be an Avengers-style mashup in which these murderous versions of these child creatures will duke it out with other beloved Disney characters that have fallen into the public domain. Among them are Bambi. That would be a crossover. That'd be fun. Among them are Bambi, Tinkerbell, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, the Mad Hatter, Sleeping Beauty, on top of
So,
on top of our Pooh friends, Piglet and Tigger and all them.
so
as
just
well.
all of the Disney characters that have
Public
gone into
domain,
the
Disney
public
character,
domain. Yep. Okay.
And so not only do we get this like Avengers Assemble, but like the MCU, you can't rush into the Avengers Assemble. You gotta have the standalone films first. And many of the characters that are going to be in this universe will have their first feature in standalone films coming this year and following in this twisted childhood universe, we're going to get Bambi the Reckoning, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and Pinocchio Unstrung.
Oh my God. I think when it comes to these types of movies, I think they're just hoping to be the first ones
Yeah.
out there rather than have it be good because
Oh yeah, it's all about speed at this point.
Yep.
And yeah, like capitalize it while you can, while it's still like, oh, this is fun. This is, look at this. This is unique. And it really does feel like an SNL bit. I remember there was two that are coming to mind. There was one with like, I think they're making fun of like the Disney live action movies, and they had like Bambi with The Rock, like playing Bambi. And then there was like this one with David Harbour, when it was the time that Joker came out, that they were doing like Oscar the Grouch. And he was like Oscar the Grouch, like in the trash can kind of thing, but in like the 70s New York, like in Joker and stuff, with all the Sesame Street characters. That's what this feels like. It's just like, but it doesn't have any of the fun of those movies. Like at the very least, make these fun, make these
Yeah.
like the Freddy versus Jason, like those type of like, movies. Like it's just you can be bad, but you can be fun too. Like it's just.
I mean,
They're
I was laughing at certain points so much. Oh my God, dude. When the four dudes come out to protect the two girls,
Yeah.
the lines that were just put out there were just fantastic. I died laughing at this line delivery. It was just insane.
Yeah,
But
so it sounds like Kyle's going to be in for the sequel. John, are you going to be checking out this next one?
Yeah, next time we lose
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be getting a Razzie next year at this rate with those Rotten Tomato scores.
yeah.
It might be okay.
we might have to watch it because it's good and
Yeah.
it's nominated.
It
Who
might be a
knows?
Best Picture nominee, so
Yeah.
we'll see. Oh man. All right, that's all we have for our two back in time segments. What a whiplash between those two. I'm gonna give you another whiplash in this next segment, the quick checks. Just enough time to do some quick checks tonight. We talked about Curb tonight, which started in 2000, and we talked about a Razzie film, won 5 Razzies, including Worst Picture. Well, I'm gonna do the opposite of that and talk about an Oscar winner from 2000, which won 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. I finally saw Gladiator.
You'd never seen Gladiator?
I don't believe so. I mean, I might have seen clips here and there, but I never
Wow.
never
I
seen
haven't
it.
seen
So
it either.
oh, so
Whoa, dude, you gotta watch it.
yeah, John, you got actually. I'm gonna I guess spoil a little bit here of this
Well, tell me
24-year-old
why,
movie.
Dave. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I will say, okay, so not everything holds up. Like you got the dream sequence, death flashes kind of moments that are very 2000 stylized. Like
Mhm.
that stuff is a little, I mean, it's of its time.
Mhm.
But there was actually so much like practical fighting, practical sets that it was such a nice return to, because nowadays you would have these, big battle sequences, armies and stuff like that done on like the volume, done in that like just giant studio with the video screens behind them that you get probably in House of the Dragon now and all that kind of stuff. You're not getting it like it was done in 2000, and it just adds so much realism. It just makes it just feel more just real, and you can really get invested into it. And like, when I first saw the runtime, I was like, oh, 2.5 hours. Okay, this might be long. It flew by, and I thought
Mhm.
there's a lot to cover. I mean, Russell Crowe's obviously good, but Joaquin Phoenix, he's just so good as
Yeah.
the slimy,
Yeah.
conniving Commodus. It's just like you're really rooting at the end for Maximus to win in the final fight, especially after the cheap shot, Commodus does and with that stab and put the armor back on. You're like, just get this guy. And So like you have all that, even though you expect that. Like there's so much
Mm-hmm.
like things because like it came out in 2000. There's probably so many people that have parodied it, copied it, but like it still works. And it really makes me wonder what they're going to do with the sequel. Yeah, the sequel that's coming out this fall. I have no idea what to expect. Um, I had the really dumb thought that during the film when, we're seeing uh, uh, Russell Crowe talk about his son and his wife. And there's a moment when, Russell Crowe's going back before other people meet his son and wife, and I'm like, oh, maybe the son here is going to be Paul Mescal. And I tell that to my wife, and she doesn't say anything, and then literally like 30 seconds later, the kid's not going to be in the sequels. It's like, so it's like, oh, okay, well, that was a dumb thought. But no, instead, Paul Mescal will be Lucius, who was in this film. Last seen 15 years ago, living in the wilderness now, and he thinks his mother is dead, but his mother will be returning. The actress will be returning for this sequel, so there's some connection there at least. But then we're gonna get additions of Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington. So the cast is really stacked.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what obviously Ridley Scott does here. He can be, I feel like, a hit or miss recently.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have a track record of like Alien, Blade Runner, The Martian, so much good stuff, it's like, all right, I'll check it out. Like I'm going in with a little hesitation because like, why mess with something that was a Best Picture
Yeah.
winner
Yeah.
24 years ago? Is it gonna work now? But it might, So
Yeah, dude. Gladiator is such a cool movie. So many good quotes.
yeah.
Very, very good.
It's crazy that like are you not entertained? I'm so early in the film. I thought that was gonna
Yeah.
be like a big moment at the end. It's like, oh no, we're just a few minutes in and we're getting that classic line. But
Yeah.
all right. That's all I got for Gladiator. Kyle, I think you saw something a little bit more contemporary.
Yeah. I saw something a little bit weird. Sanctuary. I think the poster or the image does it justice right there. This is really almost feels like a play. We're kind of boxed into a hotel room, and we have this heir apparent to this fortune, played by I think his name is Christopher Potter. He's been in a lot
Or
of different
Abbott, I
things.
think.
Yeah. Oh, Abbott.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's very good. I like him. And then we have Margaret Qualley playing this kind of woman that he hires to perform weird sexual acts with, but it's just like it's just very strange. And I know what they're going for. They are trying to shock you in a way, but it feels forced a lot. Even with the good acting. So uh basically she's there to guide him. They don't knowingly start this way, but it feels like this psycho relationship that eventually leads to his revelation of how he's going to run this company that he's come into money wise and everything. And it's just, it feels forced with like the sexual parts to it. And it just, yeah, that takes away from the acting. The production design is cool, but it just feels too forced a lot. So it forces the dialogue and even a lot of the stuff that's happening. And then it turns at the end to like a wild ending that doesn't make any sense to me. So
Oh, that's
I don't know if I'd recommend this one. But yeah.
that's too bad because I can't remember. We might have seen this trailer together. I remember seeing the trailer and I'm like, all
Mm,
right, two great actors, production design. Okay, this seems
yeah.
interesting. This seems cool. But yeah, no,
It just feels like they're trying to shock you with
yeah,
something, and it's like this
like
isn't
the
doing
Saltburn.
anything for. Yeah, it's just doing too much kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I get you. All right, so we got one thing we're recommending, one thing we're not recommending. John, what do you got? Are you gonna recommend it?
I got something right in the middle. No, I got something
All
I'm gonna recommend. Like last time, I'm gonna play a little music in the background.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'll probably talk longer than the music, but
This smell. Just kidding.
anyway, so I'm talking about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I got a couple of pictures going on slideshow here. This is basically the 8th mainline story in the series, but there was some in between, and there's a bunch of other side stories and stuff that goes on. But anyway, this is a game that has been in Japan for the entire length of the series up until this game. They're finally coming to America. They go to Hawaii, and I'm not going to say a ton about the actual plot and all that. I enjoyed it. I think I more want to talk a little bit about some of the meta stuff surrounding it. The developers, there was some change in people who were making it. So some people stepped up and some people left. And I think they kind of retconned a little bit of what happened in the 6th game in order to bring back one of the characters into this game and kind of give him a different ending. Some of the stuff felt a little bit fan servicey as far as that other character. Kiryu is the character. And he's the one on the right now. And it's a little bit weird that they would do that, but it worked. I mean, as a fan of the game, I enjoyed it. Danny Trejo is the character, if you didn't know that.
Danny Trejo as Danny Trejo, because it's now
No.
Larry David career enthusiasm thing.
No, he was as somebody else, but I believe he voiced the English version of them. Much like we had discussed, Kyle, a couple weeks ago about was it Shogun with the English and the Portuguese and all that. The English dub in this has got to be weird because there's a couple of spots in there where they're talking Japanese and they're like, "Oh, I don't speak English," and like there's a lot of stuff that's some of it's delivered in English, some of it's delivered in Japanese. So I played it in Japanese because that's the original language. Speaking of that, we had some stuff like karaoke, which is a staple of the series, where the Japanese version was excellent. This is one of the tracks, I think maybe the highlight track from the karaoke, an instrumental version of anyway. But then on the flip side of that, you had the English version of these tracks, which were pretty bad and had a lot of like time stretching on the vocals, and you could really hear it. It started sounding like kind of robot-y. So overall, I did enjoy the game. I think some of the more meta stuff about it brings it down a little bit. And I think the most egregious thing that they have is typically the way these games go is after you beat it, you can do what's called like New Game Plus, where you can replay the game with the powers you have and all that, and it's a little bit easier. That is now locked behind a DLC, so you have to pay money for it, which is new for the US. It was like that for one of the previous games in Japan, but it's new for the US. They also, with that, locked the difficulty settings behind paying for the DLC and beating the game once, which I was kind of disappointed in because most of the game was pretty easy. This is a turn-based game for the most part, and once you get ahead of that difficulty curve, it's too easy, So I kind of wanted to play it on a harder difficulty from the start, but overall, like I said, I enjoyed it. I think there's just a couple of meta things for some of the more the people who've played all the other games and kind of know what's going on that are a little disappointing, but I definitely would still recommend it if you're into turn-based games and are looking for a game with maybe some of the most dramatic story, and then you flip it 180 and the side quests are like these wacky things where, as an example, somebody was trying to get snow in Hawaii for their dying wife, and they couldn't find snow anywhere because it's Hawaii, and he's buying all these like shaved ices and trying to like make them into snow. And it turns out there's a gang of Yakuza from Japan who are visiting who like to run around only in diapers. And when they got when they got the shaved ice and the diapers, it was like snow. So they took their entire supply up to the roof and started throwing it off so it would float through the window to the guy's dying wife so she would see this crazy sub-stories. Some of them are hilarious.
Experience in Hawaii, Kyle?
For sure. Yeah. Bunch of people in diapers just running around.
But so yeah, again, I would definitely recommend pretty much any game from this series, but this one was good, so I would definitely recommend it as well.
Yeah, now groove and music. That's like 2 for 2 with the soundtrack so far you played, John. Definitely some good stuff. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Next week we got two other things to talk about. We have a movie, not Winnie the Pooh #2. It's not that. It's Civil War, the movie, not the current situation, and Fallout, the TV show, not the current situation. So we got two big things to talk about, kind of sci-fi-ish related stuff going on next week. And then at the end of the month, it's hard to believe, but the box office draft. A lot to do. Make sure you are following us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, dualredundancy.com. We are live on Twitch, twitch.tv/dualredundancy, and on YouTube at the same time. Check out those live video shows that John is directing. You can follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok at Dual Redundancy. I got to thank both you guys for joining me tonight, for suffering through the Winnie the Pooh movie. Hopefully, it's just every 7 years. Wouldn't that be great? Like, it's just the next 6 years, we're going to be fine again, and we won't have to worry. But, all right, until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm Jim Berwick.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.